not ready to do my 2022 wrap-up video yet. I am currently reading a book that's for sure going to crack my top 10, which is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. It's so good. But yeah, I figured I could go ahead and talk about my 2023 reading goal. Important disclaimer that these goals only matter because they matter to me. They don't matter in any broader sense, but I have sort of deliberately scaled my life in a way that I can focus on what's important to me, and one of those things is this kind of reading. So that is why these goals matter. I've gone ahead and set my overall goal to 100 books for 2023. Since I really didn't start reading until this summer, and I'm probably gonna end up in the 70s this year, that seems pretty reasonable. I have been a little bit hyperfixated, so I'm allowing myself to slow down. I also want to read through all of Jane Austen. It's going to be about half rereads and half new to me, but it seems achievable, and I just want to revisit it. I think it's been too long since I read that, and I think I would get more out of it now than I did when I was in high school and college. I'm going to try to up to 20% nonfiction. I'm not totally sure what that percentage is now because I do read a number of memoirs, but I want to read a little bit more hard-hitting stuff. And I want to include at least 8 books on queer history or queer theory, and 8 as well on racial justice. Feminism and gender stuff is also important to me, but I'm not really worried about having to set a numerical goal there because that's going to kind of self-populate for me. And then I would like to read 2 French books. I'm hoping I'm going to complete the one by the end of this month that I already have, and I just want to keep up my foreign language. I don't have a goal to read an Arabic novel, but maybe I'll try to read an Arabic short story, because that is just a much harder language for me. And then I want to read authors from 6 countries that I did not read from in 2022. Other than that, since joining y'all here in September, I have a ridiculous TBR that I will be reading through. Tomorrow, probably sometime this weekend, I will post some of the physical TBR I have that's gonna be hopefully priority toward the beginning of 2023. I would love to hear what kind of reading goals you have for yourself in 2023, and I'm really looking forward to a full year here on BookTok.
I want to talk about my reading goals for 2023, and I have 5, so I'll just go through them. My first goal is to read less. I have read almost 300 books so far this year, and for me, that's just too many. It kind of became just another unhealthy way to extract myself from real life, and I don't want to do that. I need to be present and enjoy every moment, you know? Next, I want to diversify my reading more. I already do a pretty good job of this. I read a ton of Black authors, queer authors, and I've started reading more Indigenous authors this year, but I want to read more, and I especially need to read more Latinx authors. And just in general, I want to read more from all the continents. So to hold myself accountable to that, I'm going to try to strictly buy physical copies of books by BIPOC authors, unless it's a book by a white author that I'm just really hyped to read, or an indie author. Which brings me to my third goal, reading more indie authors. I've already kind of got a list going of who I want to support and different books that I want to check out. So I will be doing that as soon as I make sure all my financial ducks are in a row. And my fourth goal can kind of relate to all these, and just being more selective about what I read and making sure, especially when it comes to NetGalley arcs, that I'm not just request, you know, and then ending up reading books that I do not like. And lastly, I want to write more in-depth reviews. I already am starting to do this now, but for most of the year, I did like the bare minimum. I also didn't have all of my reviews on Storygraph because I only got it, I think, in August, and I'll also be keeping up better with my Storygraph. I have loved hearing everybody else's upcoming goals, and if you have a great book rec for the start of 2023, let me know in the comments.
Here are my 2023 reading/bookish goals. I have seen a lot of my mutuals doing this, and I decided to try it out as well. And I managed to narrow it down to 5 main goals, so let's get into them. My first reading goal is to read 75 books in 2023. I thought about setting my goal at 100, but I just felt like that would take away the fun element of reading for me, and it would just feel like way too much pressure. So I wanted to set a goal that I felt was both challenging, and achievable for me. My second goal is to continue to make a conscious effort to diversify my bookshelves. In 2020, I started to realize that I was reading a lot of books written by white authors, and I wanted to change that. So back then, what I started to do was that every time I read a book written by a white author, my next read would have to be written by a BIPOC author. And I want to continue to read as many diverse stories as I possibly can, and to amplify the voices of BIPOC authors who already have such a hard time making it in this industry. Number 3, I want to read across more genres. I mostly read literary fiction with a sprinkle of fantasy and YA every now and then, so I want to start exploring more genres that I normally don't lean towards, like sci-fi, non-fiction, historical fiction, and even thrillers, is something that I used to read a lot more of. Number 4 is that in 2023, I want to go to at least one bookish event. Whether that is a book launch, a book signing, or even like a bigger event like a book conference, the ideal thing for me would be to be able to go to one of those big conferences where a bunch of book talks go to and they are able to meet and talk about what they love the most. Because I'm really hoping that in 2023, I'm able to connect even more with the BookTok community. And my last goal is that I want to buy more used books. I feel like this would be very beneficial for my wallet because I don't even want to know how much money I spent on books in 2022. I honestly love buying used books, especially when they have little notes written in them, because I think that's just so special and I love collecting those. So those were all of my reading and bookish goals for 2023. Let me know in the comments, what are yours?